Hola from Rio de Janeiro. What we see behind me is the city landscape, and where I'm standing right now is actually what we most often consider to be the formal Rio de Janeiro. Beautiful beaches, lovely ocean, mountain tops, and wonderful people. Within the next several hours, we're going to leave for Salvador, Bahia on our search for an African identity, especially that identity as it facilitated collective resistance through the various mechanisms of music, drumming, dance, and role. Rio was one of the centers for a port for slaves. Numerous Africans were brought here during the African Diaspora, and as we know, Brazil was one of the major recipients of enslaved Africans. We want to know what modes of African expressions, especially through music, drumming, dance, and mask, are currently present in this society here at Rio. We'll also be very interested in knowing how the people who currently live here perceive themselves, and make sure that we thoroughly examine Rio de Janeiro for African influences from the African diaspora, of course, that may still be present here. And in Bahia, we expect to see some different things, but some similar things also. There we're going to collect some exemplars. We'll bring those exemplars back to Rio de Janeiro, and we'll do an experiment through a survey instrument that we designed. And we already see the African influences of drumming and singing and chanting present on this beachfront. Salvador, Bahia. Beautiful city, and expect to see some things that are somewhat different in Salvador than we saw in Rio. We hope to collect some very significant data regarding the cultural expressions of Africans displaced by the diaspora. Our primary purpose of coming to Salvador is here's where we're going to examine firsthand those cultural expressions that are currently manifested by displaced Africans who were brought to Brazil as a result of the African diaspora. The unique thing here is that those drumming techniques are still indicative of the expressions and techniques that existed in previous Africa. What we're actually looking for is some semblance of meaning that's assigned to those ritualistic expressions. Here in Rio, meaning can be a very evasive aspect of society, especially when it comes to ritualistic expressions. The total focus on beauty, perfection, suntans, enjoyment, all have a commercial aspect to them. And on the surface, there's very little attempt to discern meaning. It's also very difficult in this location to find evidence of those ritualistic expressions. Here in Salvador, Bahia, there's little doubt of the presence of Brazilians who can trace their ancestry to Africa. It's omnipresent in everything, in the food, in the culture, and in the people, in the colorations and flavor of the city. Here we hope to better experience those various ritualistic practices such as candomblé, the music of candomblé, approché, capoeira, ritualistic drumming, and role assumption through mask. Here there's ample evidence of those practices that continue the linkage with Angola and to other parts of Africa that were the sources of the African diaspora. It's important to keep in mind here that we're looking at these ritualistic expressions that transcended displaced Africans here in Rio de Janeiro and in North America also, with the intent of discerning whether or not these ritualistic expressions, through their intended meaning, facilitate those people in resisting oppressive states and conditions. In this intent, it's important that we articulate clearly what those oppressive states are today. For example, what's oppression for Brazilian society? In Rio de Janeiro, you can see that the economy here on the beach is different than that in Salvador. Now, this is important for several reasons. One is that oppression can be a subjective state of being or existence. For example, in order for there to be oppression, there must be someone who oppresses, and there must be someone who is oppressed. So we want to get a feel for how the people of Rio de Janeiro with inferences to Brazil as a nation and inferences to the world, view themselves and their roles in their current society? Do they view themselves as being oppressed people? And not only do they view themselves as being oppressed people, but do they utilize mechanisms for resisting that oppression? Professor Americano.
Gosta brasileiro.
Brasil.
Brasil.
Brasil. Washington, Nueva York o la California? ¿De dónde?
Sí. Kentucky. Kentucky. So what we hope to do is to talk to some of the actual vendors and people on the beach here to get a general survey of how they view oppression in general society in Brazil and specifically in Rio de Janeiro. Douglas is one of those street merchants who make their living here on the streets of Rio de Janeiro. We're good. Tell me a little bit about what you do here on the beach.
In the beach, I work in the Copacabana beach, cleaning shoes in the street, communication to the tourists in the street.
When I say oppression to you, what do you think about regarding Rio de Janeiro?
I love my city. Rio de Janeiro is my family. It's my life.
Do you feel mistreated in any kind of way by Brazilian society?
I don't tell you the government of Brazil is so good. But not two times president. That's nice people, nice guy. Lula. I think so.
What do you view as the biggest problem in Brazil?
Big problem in the favela.
Okay.
Favela here is big problem. The gang, shot machine, killing the people for nothing.
Do you visit the favela?
Yeah, I live in the favela.
You live there?
Yeah, bom sucesso.
Okay. What's life like in the favela?
It's selling drugs. Hey, a lot of problem. Police, mafia, shot machine. You understand? The people don't have good life because to you go work, you have to be careful because the street is danger. 8 o'clock at night, nobody in the street because in the street is danger.
Mm-hmm.
You understand?
Let me ask you something about your African ancestors.
Of course.
Well, tell me what you know about that.
I never been.
Okay.
But I want to go maybe Senegal, Madagascar,
okay,
Angola. I want to go to South Africa.
Do you feel a connection with Africa in any kind of way?
Yes, where I live, I have too many African people from Angola.
Okay.
In the Bom Sucesso, in the favela where I live.
Do you experience any racism in Brazil?
Yeah, experience. Yes, of course. In the street too. In the street, sometimes people speak. You're black. Hey, bye. I tell apes, get off my waves. You don't like me, I don't like you. Copacabana Beach, rich people. Ipanema, Leblon, Barra da Tijuca.
Okay.
The people speak, hey, you, man, black. I say, hey, guys, don't speak shit, okay? Because I'm black, you're white. Same.
Are you a religious person?
Religion, Católico.
You're Catholic?
My madre, Cristianismo.
Okay. Are you familiar with Macumba? Talk to me.
Macumba. Yes, I see her sometime. I see her in my eyes. The people like Macumba.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? Make despacho. Big cigarette, charuto.
Okay.
Charuto put in the street. Take the black chicken. Understand? Kill her. Put in the street.
Do you understand what they're doing?
Yeah, I don't understand because he want one cangacero macumba.
Okay. You see it, but you don't understand it.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have any meaning. Does it have any meaning to you? You just see it and say, "Oh." Okay.
It's religion. Yeah, religion than other people.
Okay.
But macumba is religion for the peoples. It's like speak too much, spend a lot of money to kill another people. I believe in Jesus Christ because he don't sleep. He look everybody in the world. Understand?
Specifically, those ritualistic practices were candomblé or macumba, the music of candomblé, afro-shave, capoeira, ritualistic drumming practices, and role assumption through the use of various masks. The verification of oppression and abasement in Brazilian society in past occasions was easy to verify, and especially with regard to displaced Africans who were brought to Brazil as a part of the African diaspora. Our mission was to authenticate current conditions of abasement and oppression, and that's been a little bit more difficult for us to do. As some of our interviews and our data shows, many perceptions of current-day Brazilians, depending upon the region, are that they are perhaps not oppressed. This, no doubt, is important subjective information. However, objective information, which scholars often want to use, implies that systems such as prostitution, poverty, gang wars, drug abuse, and other incidents represent significant systems of oppression on present-day Brazil, just as those things represent significant incidents of oppression in North America. Our experiences here and historiography also inform us that various mechanisms, those expressions or ritualistic practices, provided a significant outlet or tool for resisting oppression, for facilitating collective resistance to oppression, and for bonding a people who were displaced on a continent unfamiliar to themselves by displaced Africans, enslaved Africans, for displaced Africans, enslaved Africans, for facilitating both individual resistance and collective resistance in many occasions. However, and more troublesome has been our mission to authenticate the current uses of those ritualistic practices in facilitating both individual and collective resistance. While there are certain instances that we observed in certain locations of Brazil, it's quite difficult to make a broad and sweeping assumption that those ritualistic practices are being used in totem as a method or mechanism for resisting the current conditions of oppression in Brazil. It is interesting to reflect upon our visitation here. Although they manifested themselves differently, there are key elements that are present in both instances, North America and South America, and which represent ritualistic practices that have their origins in Africa. At the crux of these expressions is the theory of testification, using these ritualistic practices as an effective mechanism for resisting abasement and oppression.